never been more urgent. Paul Paraka's ascent within Papua New Guinea's legal circles was nothing short of meteoric. He was a young, ambitious lawyer who quickly established himself as a formidable force in the courtroom. His sharp intellect and aggressive litigation style won him accolades and a growing clientele. He became the go-to lawyer for high-profile cases representing politicians, businessmen, and even government departments. Paraka's firm, Paul Paraka Lawyers, grew exponentially, becoming one of the largest and most influential in the country. Its offices were opulent, its staff numerous, and its reach extended to the highest echelons of power. Paraka's success, however, was not solely due to his legal prowess. He cultivated close relationships with powerful individuals within the government, securing lucrative contracts and preferential treatment. These connections, which initially seemed like shrewd business acumen, would ultimately prove to be his downfall. As his wealth and influence grew, so too did the whispers about the methods he employed to secure government contracts. Rumors circulated of inflated invoices, non-existent services, and dubious payments authorized by complicit officials. What began as hushed whispers would soon erupt into a full-blown scandal, forever tarnishing Paraka's legacy and leaving an indelible stain on Papua New Guinea's political landscape. The elaborate scheme orchestrated by Paul Paraka and his associates began to unravel in the early 2010s. Whistleblowers, risking their careers and safety, started to come forward with alarming allegations of massive fraud within the legal system. Their testimonies painted a disturbing picture of how Paraka had allegedly exploited his government connections to siphon off millions of Kina in public funds. The allegations centered on a pattern of fraudulent activity. Paraka's firm would bill the government for legal services that were either grossly inflated or never rendered. These invoices, often lacking proper documentation or justification, were then allegedly approved by high-ranking officials within the Department of Finance and other government agencies. As investigations deepened, the sheer scale of the alleged fraud became horrifyingly clear. Between 2007 and 2011, Paraka's firm had received a staggering 162 million Kina, approximately 45 million US dollars, in government payments. These funds, intended for essential public services, had instead been diverted to line the pockets of Paraka and his accomplices. The scandal sent shockwaves through Papua New Guinea, triggering public outrage and demands for accountability. The Paul Paraka scandal is not merely a case of one rogue lawyer exploiting loopholes in the system. It has laid bare the deeply entrenched culture of corruption that permeates various levels of Papua New Guinean society. The alleged complicity of high-ranking government officials in this elaborate scheme points to a systemic failure of governance and accountability mechanisms. The scandal has highlighted the dangerous nexus between money and politics in Papua New Guinea. Paraka's ability to secure lucrative government contracts and evade scrutiny for years was contingent on his close ties to powerful political figures. This raises serious concerns about the undue influence wielded by moneyed elites, and the vulnerability of state institutions to manipulation and capture. Furthermore, the scandal has exposed the weakness of Papua New Guinea's financial management systems and the lack of transparency in government procurement processes. The fact that such large sums of public funds could be siphoned off without detection for years points to a systemic failure in oversight and auditing procedures. This lack of accountability creates fertile ground for corruption to thrive, diverting resources from crucial development needs and undermining public trust in the government. Section 5. Calls for Justice, Transparency International and the Legal Battle. As the Paul Paraka scandal sent shockwaves through Papua New Guinea, one organization emerged as a leading voice demanding justice and accountability: Transparency International (PNG). The anti-corruption watchdog condemned the scandal as a textbook example of grand corruption and called for a thorough and impartial investigation into all those involved, regardless of their position or influence. Transparency International (PNG) played a crucial role in keeping the pressure on the authorities to act. They meticulously documented the case, released public statements condemning the alleged corruption, and advocated for stronger anti-corruption measures. Their efforts helped ensure that the scandal remained in the public eye and prevented it from being swept under the rug. The legal battle against Paul Paraka was protracted and complex. He was finally arrested in 2013, but his trial was delayed numerous times due to legal challenges and adjournments. Paraka, throughout the proceedings, maintained his innocence, claiming that the charges against him were politically motivated. He alleged that he was being used as a scapegoat to protect more powerful figures implicated in the scandal. Section 6. The Prime Ministers and the Paraka Puzzle. The Paul Paraka scandal has cast a long shadow over the administrations of several Papua New Guinean prime ministers. The alleged siphoning of public funds occurred during the tenures of both Sir Michael Somare and Peter O'Neill, raising questions about their knowledge of or involvement in the scheme. While both leaders have denied any wrongdoing, the scandal has tarnished their legacies and fueled public distrust in the country's leadership. The scandal took a dramatic turn in March 2025 when current Prime Minister James Marape, who served as finance minister from 2012 to 2013, testified in a related court case. Marape, in his testimony, stated that he never authorized any payments to Paraka's firm during his time as finance minister. This statement has sparked intense debate and speculation, with some praising Marape's apparent commitment to transparency, while others question the timing and veracity of his claims. Adding fuel to the fire, Paraka's defense team has claimed that Marape, during his time as finance minister, authorized payments to the firm from a reserve trust account that was outside the jurisdiction of the Solicitor General. These conflicting accounts have further muddied the waters, leaving the public to grapple with unanswered questions about the extent of high-level involvement in the scandal. The ongoing trial of Jacob Yafai, the former acting secretary of the Department of Finance, who is facing charges of misappropriation and abuse of office related to the Paraka payments, is expected to shed further light on this intricate web of political connections and financial misconduct. Section 7. Denial of bail and digital curtains. In March 2025, at the age of 50, Paul Paraka, now serving his 20-year prison sentence, was denied bail by the Supreme Court of Papua New Guinea. He had sought release on medical and humanitarian grounds, requesting permission to seek treatment overseas. The court, however, ruled that his medical condition could be adequately managed within the country. This decision was met with mixed reactions. Some argued that it demonstrated the judiciary's commitment to upholding the rule of law, regardless of an individual's status. Others, however, viewed it as a harsh decision, particularly given Paraka's claims of deteriorating health. Adding to the controversy surrounding the Paraka case, the Papua New Guinean government, in a move that raised eyebrows both domestically and internationally, imposed a one-month ban on Facebook in March 2025. The government cited the need to curb the spread of misinformation and hate speech as the rationale behind the ban. However, the timing of the ban, coinciding with Prime Minister Marape's testimony in the Paraka-related case, fueled speculation that it was a thinly veiled attempt to stifle public discussion and dissent surrounding the scandal. The Facebook ban, impacting an estimated 1.3 million users in PNG, drew criticism from various quarters, including human rights groups and free speech advocates. Critics argued that the ban was a disproportionate response to the stated problem and set a dangerous precedent for censorship. The ban, regardless of its true intent, highlighted the government's sensitivity to criticism and its apparent unease with open public discourse on sensitive issues like corruption. Section 8. Public outrage and the price of impunity. The Paul Paraka scandal has ignited widespread public outrage and disillusionment in Papua New Guinea. The blatant misappropriation of millions of Kina intended for essential public services has struck a chord with ordinary citizens, many of whom struggle to access basic necessities like healthcare, education, and clean water. The scandal has brought into sharp focus the stark contrast between the lavish lifestyles enjoyed by the political elite and the harsh realities faced by the majority of the population, 40% of whom live below the poverty line. Public anger has been further fueled by the government's perceived lack of urgency in addressing the root causes of corruption. The slow pace of legal proceedings, the lack of significant convictions of high-ranking officials, and the government's recent extravagant spending plans, including proposals for a luxury island and a Formula One track, have all contributed to a sense of impunity and a belief that the political elite are out of touch with the needs of ordinary citizens. This simmering anger has manifested in various forms. from public protests and demonstrations to scathing criticism on social media platforms like X, formerly known as Twitter. There have been growing calls for greater transparency and accountability in government, as well as demands for a more equitable distribution of resources. The scandal has served as a stark reminder that corruption, far from being a victimless crime, has a real and devastating impact on the lives of ordinary citizens, eroding trust, undermining development, and exacerbating inequality. Section 9. A Fractured Legacy: Navigating the Path Ahead. The Paraka scandal has left an indelible stain on Papua New Guinea's political landscape. It has exposed the fragility of the country's institutions, the deep-rooted culture of impunity, and the urgent need for systemic reforms. As PNG approaches its 50th anniversary of independence, the scandal serves as a stark reminder of the unfinished business of nation-building and the long road ahead in the fight against corruption. Addressing the root causes of corruption will require a multi-pronged approach. Strengthening institutions, promoting transparency and accountability, empowering civil society, and fostering a culture of integrity are all crucial steps in the right direction. The government needs to demonstrate its commitment to tackling corruption by enacting and enforcing tougher anti-corruption laws, establishing independent anti-corruption bodies, and protecting whistleblowers. Furthermore, addressing the underlying socio-economic factors that contribute to corruption, such as poverty, inequality, and lack of access to education and employment opportunities, is essential. Empowering citizens to hold their leaders accountable and demanding good governance are crucial for a sustainable solution. The Paraka scandal, while a stark reminder of the challenges that lie ahead, also presents an opportunity for PNG to confront its demons and chart a new course towards a more just and equitable future.